And welcome in everyone to Mile High Insiders. Yes, I am not the handsome Nick. You are joined once again by the bearded fellows, and we're excited to get in here, talk some Bronco football. Camp has officially kicked off, and man, just lots and lots going on. So it's going to be exciting. But Luke, how are you, buddy?
Doing great, man. Doing great. Football is officially back. I know they've been in training camp and doing the ramp up period. And yeah, there's some basketball, hockey, and, whatever baseball's going on right now. But I want to talk football because for me, football is king. I don't care about other playoffs or any of that stuff. Good luck to all of them. But the news is, man, Friday, just a day ago, they got the practice going, dude. And I'm so ready to start talking Broncos, man. And I'm just pumped to have you on the show, man.
Well, yeah, appreciate you inviting me on. I know Nick has been put through the whirlwind, literally, the last week. And so everybody just keep thinking about him and all that he's going through, especially trying to move as well. Man, he's just got everything going on.
Serves him right.
Yeah.
Serves him right. Absolutely. Serves him right. And you know what? I appreciate you being able to hop on. I was able to get some, building the Broncos earlier this week. Now we're getting some Mile High Insider in. So let's do it, buddy. Let's have a great show.
Yeah, let's do it. All right. Well, I want to let everyone know that you can follow me at Carl Dumler MHH, and of course Luke at Luke Patterson LP. Yes, right there on the screen for anybody that wants to know. We chat all the time on Twitter. Sometimes we live on Twitter more than we ever should. And so, yeah, we love to chat with you guys, especially right now when everything's going on. Hit us up with any questions or thoughts that you have. You can also follow the podcast Twitter account. It is at Mile High or at MHI_football pod for anybody out there. Sorry, I'm used to my own show here, so trying to get into this one here, but I'm excited for it. Subscribe to our show wherever you listen to podcasts and leave us a rating. There's lots of other great podcasts that are going on here at Mile High Huddle. I think we have one out every single day of the week, so you do not want to miss any of those. And make sure you're heading on over to milehighhuddle.com of Sports Illustrated. We've got lots of great content. Luke, I hear you got an article coming out about Bryce Callahan.
Yeah, absolutely. Bryce Callahan turning a few heads yesterday in practice. Should be dropping any minute now at milehighhuddle.com. We've got tons of great written content out there, folks. I mean, we've got guys and gals working through the night. We got, I'm constantly talking about Keith over there in Scotland, literally working through our night on Broncos film, devouring it. We've got Broncos country all over the world. So want to give a quick shout out to a few of our folks coming in here. I know we got Terry Randall up in the house. We got Big E, Cody Potter, some of our favorites. One of my good friends, Amanda's in there. She just came back to Colorado from Arizona, so welcome back. And Broncos country, we want to hear from you guys too. Where are you at? Where are you repping the orange? Because it is officially football season. But yeah, Carl, Bryce Callahan, man, he's turning a few heads out there. For one, he's healthy and he's out there, so that's automatically going to catch somebody's attention. And two, he's grabbing an interception, catching an underneath interception from Pro Bowl wide receiver underneath the Cortland Sutton. So Bryce Callahan looking good. Odd to see that 29 and not associate it with Bradley Roby even after, in his second year now with the Broncos. But yeah, be sure to go ahead and look at that on milehighhuddle.com. Should be dropping any minute.
All right. I know that this podcast right now is powered by Overtime Media. And we already got it started off here. Terry Randall, you said earlier, coming in here with the super chat. Hashtag cheers to the beards. Hashtag Broncos world. Yes.
Appreciate you, Terry.
Yes, really appreciate that. And yes, you get to see these beards a little bit more here to close out August together. So I'm excited about that. Asked my wife last night how much she likes my beard. And it was not as glowing as I was hoping.
Oh, no. Well, that's okay.
She likes it a little more trimmed up, so we'll get there.
You look good. And Terry, you got to grow that beard out, man. I want to see a beard from you, Terry, because you're one of our best super chat superstars, and we've got a huge following, Carl. That's the coolest thing about this, man, being able to interact with our following and take the time. So we definitely appreciate it, Terry. And what are we going to talk about today, Carl? I think we're going to talk about some rookies starting because, correct me if I'm wrong, there was some rookie buzz out there yesterday too, and more than just the obvious names. What are you hearing / seeing based off of 1 day of really full speed practice on Friday?
Well, and this is, I think we need to start with this is really such a weird offseason, obviously. And so for rookies, it's going to be even that much more challenging of learning a new offense. They're first getting on the field with veterans, other than their time that they've been in other practice facilities, doing their own thing. But to hear that some of the rookies really showed well, considering all that they've been put through, it just really, it's one practice. We got to make sure we understand that. But at the same time, it's still good to know that these guys are out there making some big plays. And of course, it starts with Jerry Jeudy. I mean, we've talked about it on this show how many times. He is one of the most NFL-ready players that any of us have seen. His route running is so advanced that most NFL players are probably going to be jealous of what he brings to the table. I think it was Kareem Jackson that talked about that, of his ability to cut was just something that it's better than any player he's ever seen. And you think about some of the players that he has worked with, DeAndre Hopkins, Cortland Sutton here in Denver. He's been with Emmanuel Sanders. There's a lot of guys out there. And it just to have him say something like that about a rookie after one practice, that's something special there.
Yeah, definitely. That seems to be the overwhelming sentiment coming out of practice yesterday. I wasn't able to be there due to, current circumstances going on in the world right now. I think everybody knows what that means. But checking in with a few people. I know you're checking in with your people. I'm checking in with my people. I'm asking around. And it's not just media overblown hype on Jerry Jeudy. The players see it. The coaches see it. You've got Vic Fangio coming out praising Jerry Jeudy, and Vic Fangio doesn't just throw praise around. He's not a guy that just likes to compliment just anyone. Ask Von Miller. Maybe the
He's
first
honest
to tell
to
you.
fault.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the only two Broncos Vic has ever really given praise to has been Jared Allen and Bradley Chubb. I think he called Jared Allen a gamer, and then he's always been a fan of Bradley Chubb. I think it's more of his style pass rusher, but him and Vaughn are going to get after it this year. But absolutely. Jerry Jeudy, he seems to be everything that has been advertised. I know the big thing for a lot of people is going to be comparing Henry Ruggs, his Alabama teammate, with the Las Vegas Raiders, and those two will be forever linked as long as they're in the AFC West together. But I think the Broncos really got the better of the two receivers. I really like what I see on film. And the nicest thing about this training camp right now is we're getting away from the workout videos, Carl. Yeah. Tired of seeing these workout videos. We're actually seeing these guys go one-on-one a little bit. Now, it does bother me because, the video footage access is somewhat limited. So I can't always see Drew Lock's dropbacks or what's going on and how it correlates. But, Jerry Jeudy, number 10, the 10 is still freaking me out because I think of Emmanuel, but man, I'm starting to get goosebumps just thinking of this wide receiver. But I also get a little worried, a little nervous. I mean, anytime something's too good to be true, sometimes it's not. And, it is just one day of practice, but that one day of practice looked pretty damn good.
Right. And you always have to keep things in perspective. The Broncos decided this year that even with the shortened offseason, to only have the rookies playing in a backup role. I think Jerry Jeudy took a couple snaps with the ones, but otherwise he was with the twos the entire day. Yep. The other guys we're going to talk about, they were all facing backup players. So keep that in mind again, that they're going to have to show that they can take those steps up. And I do wonder a little bit of how quickly, because of I think they only have 23 days of practice.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. And something I just wanted to just piggyback off of real quick. You're exactly right. When you've got Jerry Jeudy burning Duke Dawson, I mean, you got to think about that just a little bit. Or Devontae Bosby, you got to think about that just a little bit. You're talking about NFL ready wide receiver coming in and not beating the brakes off of, but he's beating these guys in the secondary unit.
Yeah. So, we could talk about Jerry Jeudy all day. But I do want to get to some of our other rookies that we've maybe heard a few things about. Jim Hilton coming in saying, thumbs up, hit the like button, folks. Yes, make sure you are hitting the like button, or you can hit whatever button you want, but we appreciate the like buttons. And then here we go, another rookie. Chase Wellner coming in with the super chat. Read a piece on MHR that had Strnad, going to practice squad. He's a rookie, but Denver is lacking coverage skill with the inside linebackers. What's your prediction?
Tough to talk about just because I haven't read that, so I don't want to speculate off anything I haven't read or things that I haven't heard. But I like Justin Sternad a lot. In
Yeah.
fact, I like him so much that I don't want him on the practice squad. So by no means am I trying to dump on another publication or anything like that. And in fact, it's a small world. A lot of us have kind of crossed lines in the publication world and podcast world, and I have nothing but good things to say about those cats over there. That being said, Justin Sternad, I like him, Carl. I like him a lot. And I like him too much to be on the practice squad.
Yeah, I haven't read the article either. I'd be interested to see who they have making at the off-ball linebacker spot to just see, because right now, I mean, of course, you've got you're going to have Alexander Johnson. He's going to make the starting roster. You're going to have Todd Davis.
You know what Troy Rank said about Alexander Johnson?
What's that?
He said he's going to have a Pro Bowl year.
Oh, yeah, I did read that.
And he said he was. So I heard him on the air, and then I read it, and then so I tweeted at him, and I got a like, but I didn't get a comment because I said, so I'm assuming this means that the defensive secondary would be picking up the majority of the tight end coverage, right, Troy? Yeah. And I like Troy. Troy's a great guy. I'm not going to call him a friend, more of an acquaintance, rubbing elbows with the sports anchor of the year or something like that. So a good guy, but when you hear Alexander Johnson's going to have a Pro Bowl year, I mean, okay, so you got Alexander Johnson, Todd Davis, and you were saying
Josie Jewell, possibly. I mean, maybe. I mean, and that's the thing is, after those first two, it is really up in the air. Anybody could go out there and make a name for themselves. They were talking about Josie Jewell trying to cover Jerry Jeudy. And it ended very poorly.
What's the point? That's a wasted rep for both guys. Straight up. That's you know what that is? That's a knock on wood injury waiting to happen. Gosh forbid, somebody twist an ankle or step on a toe or the turf monster gets you. So no, I don't need that. But you're exactly right. Insert who? Josie Jewell. Nice story. And Nick's not here, so I'm going to bang on the guy so hard just because he loves those vets, right? We all Iowa guy, right? Iowa. Right. And I like Josie Jewell. I always have. He's an old school linebacker that just he's a couple decades late. That's all. And it's an unfortunate situation. I think he could be a better special teams player if he had what he lacks on the football field, which is speed. That's really it. I mean, he's got the intelligence. He understands angles. He just doesn't have that step, Carl. So I'm definitely concerned when it comes to that linebacking unit. So expect Justin Sternad to at least be in the mix.
Right. And he's the only one right now that I'd say on the roster has coverage ability.
Sure.
Where, I mean, Todd Davis is okay at it, but he's better coming downhill, stopping the run. Sure. Alexander Johnson, better coming down, stopping the run, getting after the quarterback.
Yeah, T-Rexes aren't known for covering other dinosaurs, right? I mean, they pound the dinosaur in the running game, right?
Exactly. So it's one of those, I just think that because he has such a different skill set than the other guys at the linebacking position for the Broncos, I think he makes the roster. There's other guys, there's other rookies that we're probably going to talk about that I could see maybe getting put on the practice squad. Something to keep in mind this year is that teams can have protected players on the practice squad. So they can put them on there and no other team can pick them up. So you could have a third-round rookie that gets put on the practice squad just because they don't think that he's quite ready to be on the roster and there's a better veteran, and bring him about as the season goes about. That wouldn't shock me one bit, because I mean that take advantage of the situation, let the rookies develop at a slower pace than what you need them to. So yeah, I right now Sternad though is one of those I still think makes the roster.
You bet. I think an impressive player, and pumped to see what he's got going on. So we've got Miss Pabby coming in here saying hello to everybody. Pabby, we're keeping you in our thoughts and prayers as well. Another one of those folks that was separated separated. They're having a lot of trouble, folks, out there in Iowa. If you guys haven't seen, Nick's been a part of that. Carl's talking about it. Pabby's been a part of that. We're keeping you guys in our thoughts and prayers. Hurricane winds in Iowa that are just left the devastating results. So keeping everybody in our thoughts and prayers there, Pabby. Hope you're doing well. But I want to get to a comment here. And this is coming from Nevitz4433 saying, I heard Hamler looked good, but had a significant dropped pass as well. This was apparently his rep in college. Are we concerned? Carl, he did have a dropped pass. And what was the result of that drop pass?
It ended up in a defender's hands.
Who picked it off?
Was it Ojemudia?
Another rookie, Michael
Yep.
Ojemudia.
I thought that's who it
right
ended up
off.
being.
That's right, man.
Yep.
So here we go on the rookie turning the rookie wheel. Definitely frustrating when you hear about that, right? It was his rep in college, but what do you take from, at least one one dropped pass that ultimately turned into an interception?
Well, this is why when a lot of people keep talking about how Hamler is going to be in the slot, Jerry Jeudy at the Z, and of course Cortland Sutton at the X to start off the season, this is why I say hold your horses a bit. I mean, KJ Hamler, he is a big play waiting to happen. He also had the best catch of the day. DenverBroncos.com put out a video of his catch against Duke Dawson. It was a great pass and leaping catch. That's what he can bring also. But those drops, yeah, especially from the slot position, that's the wide receiver that your quarterback's supposed to be able to trust, especially on third down, to go make a big play, to get open in a hurry, and to be that guy that picks up first down after first down. And right now, KJ Hamler is not the guy that you can trust.
And to me, I agree with everything you just said. So I'm going to ask you this right now. Was it a rich pick in the second round for John Elway and the Denver Broncos to go KJ Hamler, a player who a lot of folks talk about the drops, but a lot of people talk about special teams and his ability with that speed and that agility to manipulate special teams and go house to house? Well, he never scored a touchdown in college. Maybe one. Correct me if I'm wrong. You guys can look that up, but pretty sure I wrote up the piece right after he was drafted, and he didn't get any scores on the special team. So was that a really rich pick for John Elway and the Broncos in round 2 to go get a receiver who led the league, the college NCAA game in overall drops, and did not score a special teams touchdown?
Well, I mean, that's exactly where I expected him to go, was second round.
Really?
So
okay.
I don't think that they missed out on value. Going wide receiver is a little bit rich for my blood, and I'm a guy that loves wide receivers. But at the same time, in today's NFL, you need that kind of speed. You need that playmaking ability to win over the top, to really scare a defense. A guy like him, I mean, he is not like that of John Ross for the Bengals. But John Ross, when he plays in games, the Bengals score at least 4 more points per game compared to when he's not in the game. And it's the same what KJ Hamler is going to bring, just because of teams having to respect what he can bring over the top. So you hope that he can develop more of his game as he goes, and you hope that he can bring some of those specialty plays, kind of what Tyreek Hill brings to the Chiefs, where you can do those wide receiver sweeps, those jet sweeps, whatever you want to call them. You're hoping that he can bring some fake screen passes where teams are so worried about that speed, they just come up, and you got one of my favorite plays. I think it was with Wes Welker. He was supposed to be the lead blocker on a screen pass, and they'd done the play earlier in the game where he was the lead guy, and so all the defenders just come crashing down. Wes Welker just kind of sneaks out like he had a bad block, and boom, touchdown by Peyton Manning. That's what I want to see with KJ Hamler, because he has that ability to go win over the top. Of course, you have the fade, the deep fade that has become really popular in the NFL today. He is great at that. So there's a lot of things that I like about his game, but I just don't know how much you're getting in 2020. That's my biggest concern with him.
Yeah, I hear you. And for me, though, I caution just a little bit when I hear about the drops, and I just hope, I'm gonna give you some heck, because you gave me some hell earlier about Alberto and talking about, our Florida boy and looking good in shorts, Jarvis Moss, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, folks, I put out a tweet the other day saying, Alberto was flashing some heads and looking good out there before they started the Friday practice. And Carl hops on there and starts chirping me, saying, dude, Jarvis Moss looked good. Jarvis Moss, an old pick from Mike Shanahan out of the University of Florida that was garbage as soon as he put on the pads and never really did anything for the Broncos. So I'm gonna kind of give you a comparison that I hope doesn't happen with KJ Hamler. I don't want another Trendon Holiday or, Isaiah McKenzie or, I want this guy to be able to do what he does. And if that means we don't need to use him in the receiving game because he's so focused on not muffing a punt, let's leave him off special teams and let's focus on the wide receiver development. So do I think he's going to be an immediate impact? Probably not. I think it's going to take a lot of time. And to use Troy Rank's, I love his mottos, right? You got to microwave his development, right? If you're going to try to do that. So I don't know. With KJ Hamler, it's just you're going to see that. You're going to see some drops in games, and then you're going to see some touchdown saving games eventually in his career. You've just got to kind of accept him for what he is. But if Broncos country is willing to limp along with Demaryius Thomas and all the drops he's had and appreciate everything he's done for the Broncos, then they should be willing to give KJ Hamler the chance.
Yeah. I wanted to get to this. Jay Anderson coming up with a comment. Guys, it's Hamler's first training camp practice. Very true. He can work on his hands. Very true. If it happens all camp, then maybe it's time to worry. Here's what I want to say about hands and wide receivers. There are those guys who are just absolutely naturally gifted with their hands. You think of like OBJ. I think of even like Emmanuel Sanders. That man, he never dropped anything. I was always impressed at I think that was one of the most underrated things about Emmanuel Sanders. The man just caught everything thrown his direction. There's been a lot of videos of Brandon Lloyd put out there lately. That man he had sticky hands.
Yep.
So that you have those kind of guys. You have others that they're naturally they're body catchers. That's why I always scream at guys who are like 6'5", and then they're body catchers. I'm like, well, they're playing like
they're cradling it like this
right.
instead of going after it with their big, powerful hands that get measured in the combine and the underwear Olympics and everything else.
Yeah, and so then they start talking about this, catch radius, and I'm going, their catch radius is 0 because they just want to catch with their body every time. Sure. And so you can improve your hands, but there's still only a finite ability that you can improve on that. And so KJ Hamler is always going to have some kind of struggle with drops throughout his career. Now, he can improve and get that more consistent, but there's still always going to be a little bit of a concern there with that. And so you're going to have to live with that some. There's going to be perfect deep throws thrown to him on what should be a touchdown, and he's going to drop it. But then he's also going to have those games where he has like 3 catches and like 200 yards.
I think he's got a little bit – I know they're different circumstances, but in terms of his attitude and his swag, he's got that underdog in him and everything. And I know Chris Harris Jr. wasn't drafted, but he's got this little bit of attitude, I feel like, CHJ. And from what I've talked to people about, that attitude around the building, people like him. His teammates like him. Jerry Jeudy, very reserved, very quiet, very humble about the way he goes things. KJ Hamler's a fun guy in the game. Yeah. He likes to let his character shine. So at times, I think he's going to have to maybe eat a little bit of crow, just like we all do in our life, right? I eat crow constantly for, every day, man. And it's just one of those things. He's a humble player. So I could see these mistakes when they happen really bothering him and making him change some of his ways and the way he thinks about the game, and learning with Cortland Sutton and Zach Azzani, his wide receivers coach, how to be an NFL wide receiver. That's going to be an encouraging thing for quarterback Drew Lock.
And I think the biggest thing that I want to see from him, how does he bounce back after a drop? I think one of my biggest issues with Demaryius Thomas, if he had that first pass that was a drop, he just really disappeared the rest of the game. Yeah. It just really bothered him. It got to his head and he just couldn't stop thinking about it. And so then he would compound mistakes. My dad, he and I love to go golfing. And I beat him almost every single time, not because I'm a better golfer, but because he has one bad hole and it just spirals out of control. He can't get himself, like one bad shot all of a sudden turns into about 5 bad shots.
You're chirping at him, aren't you? You're chirping at your dad, just like you chirp at me on Twitter anytime I'm happy about Alberto. It must be, man, you're team Iowa too, because I'm telling you boys right now, Alberto, this might not be his year, but you know what? Year 2, I think it's going to be really something. And I think all these Iowa boys, man, y'all better watch out.
So talking about Alberto, I guess I'll put this one out there a little bit. I had one of my people tell me, don't be surprised if Alberto is one of those protected practice squad players. No.
No. No, I'm not calling you a liar. I'm calling your people misinformed because that is crazy.
Okay.
No way. What? Okay, so how many on average, roughly, tight ends does an NFL team carry on the active roster?
Usually 4.
Okay, so who would those 4 be on the roster for you right now?
So you got the obvious ones of Noah Fant, obviously going to be there.
Yep.
Nick Vanette's going to be there.
Yep.
And so then I think after that, that's where
That's where you put my boy. You got to put Alberto right there.
Okay, and I'll say this. I do think he makes the final roster.
Sure.
I'm just saying, don't be surprised, just because, again, when the tight end room is actually pretty full. That's one nice thing that the team's running into, other than Austin Fort's injured. And
that's a bummer, man. I'm really disappointed about that, just because I don't see him making this Broncos team, maybe the practice squad if he was healthy, but I would at least like to see him, and I hope to see him land another team, just because I really like the guy. I've gotten to talk to him so many times, and I just wish good things for him. But you're right, man. We can't. The Broncos can't afford to keep the excess tight ends that they have, and Andrew Beck's one of those guys too, man.
Right. Well, and that's another one. Now, his helper is the fact that he can play fullback.
We don't need a fullback in the spread offense, brother.
While they don't use the fullback very often, there's still about those like 5% of plays. And if you look at Pat Shurmur's time with the Giants, he always kept a tight end that had fullback ability. So
okay, true. Now, I will go back and give the University of Iowa tight end U some credit, because, I think Mike Munchak, from what I'm hearing, has worked with Noah Fant, and they're doing very well with the coaching aspect of run blocking with Noah Fant, which is something that he got dinged a little bit in college, Carl. You know that. Is the pass catching guy and everything like that, but it was, are you willing to block? Sometimes I think it's a willingness thing with Noah, but looking at how much he put on some good weight, I thought he looks bigger, and he doesn't look sloppy or anything like that. He sounds focused. So I'm thinking if Mike Munchak can coach these guys up to block, I think he could definitely coach up an Alberto who's quite a bit bigger in terms of weight than Noah Fant.
Right. And again, I do think he does make the final roster, but it wouldn't surprise me. James Campbell, Fant, Vanette, Butt, Beck. One of the guys that is, I mean, if you watch all the,
you guys are killing me with Jake.
Hey, listen, all the highlight videos have Jake Butt making some kind of catch.
Yeah,
and I've heard good things that he's having a pretty good time. Not saying he's been perfect. He's been up and down because he hasn't played a whole lot in what, 3 years, 4 years now.
He's Jeff Hireman 2.0.
I'm not disagreeing with that. Jeff Hireman, when healthy though, had some decent moments. Nothing great, but was decent.
Sure.
And so for a backup kind of guy, not the worst guy to have out there. And again, if you have Alberto on the practice squad, you can always still bring him up when Jake Butt gets hurt. Not if, when Jake Butt gets hurt.
Was that? Yeah, absolutely. Was that James Campbell who just asked that question? Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, James. So I would ask you this, James, because you are one of our best fans. You're always following our work. I really, really appreciate it, and you're very knowledgeable. Do you think that John Elway would be asking Drew Lock, "Hey, should I draft this cat? What do you know about this cat from Mizzou? Your old homie, your teammate that you're playing cards with Dalton Reisner." It's for me, no, you don't do that to stash him on the practice squad. And if y'all think you could just stash this rich young blood talent on the practice squad and expect 2020 to be this season where a few rookies come on and the vets just inspirally push the team along, that's not going to be it, man. This is a youth movement, and you've got to get as much young players in now as you can. The older dogs, you look at some of the Super Bowl champs that have left, like Derek Wolfe and Chris Harris Jr. From what I'm understanding, and some people that are chatting with me, they're saying it feels like there's a little bit of a changing of the guard. And in talking to some of those younger players, they didn't always feel like they had the wherewithal to be saying some of those things that they should be saying in the locker room, taking that command of leadership, because how can you when you've got Super Bowl champions in the room? So I think that the direction the team is already heading in is young. You got to go ahead and you got to commit, but you got to commit with some reason.
Yeah. I don't completely disagree. I'm just telling you something that I heard was don't be surprised.
I'm starting to. One day I'm going to sniff it out, and I'm going to give everybody a behind the scenes look. I was asking Carl who his sources were last time we were talking last week, and he wouldn't tell me. So I'm still bitter and I'm grouchy, but I've got suspicions. I've got lots of suspicions, Carl, on who it is, and it better be someone with a beard because otherwise this just isn't going to work, man. I'm feeling some betrayal.
I'm sorry, man. Terry Randall coming in once again. Hashtag use the force, Luke.
Appreciate you, Terry. Thank you, brother. And you did pop up on the Mile High Huddle. I just dropped a new article, y'all. Holla holla, dropping it. Yeah, man. Chad Jensen just put out, one of our editors, the boss man, just put out an article. I wrote up on Bryce Callahan, and basically, if Bryce Callahan's going to have a comeback, it's got to start now in training camp. Yep. I'm not saying that he's going to. I don't know what the future holds. Just like we were ripping on Jake Butt, I've been ripping on Bryce Callahan too. He survived practice one day and did a great job. Now I want to see if he can go do that tomorrow and on Monday. And was trying to talk to Chad a little bit. And Carl, I know you know quite a bit about it. Right now on Friday, they did the 2-hour practice session, which is really weird, right? We're talking about all these unprecedented times and what's going on. Sunday, they'll be doing a 2-hour practice as well. But then Monday, they got to scale it back a little bit, right? And then Tuesday, ramp up again. Can you talk a little bit about how training camp in this new world is looking here in middle to late August?
Well, it's one of those, because everything is squished together, you want to get in as much as you possibly can, but you want to keep everyone healthy. I mean, that's usually the main goal of getting out of training camp is get players kind of used to each other, stay healthy, and just kind of build chemistry. I mean, it just that's pretty much it. You're not trying to. You got some of your younger guys trying to make a name for themselves. You're doing a little bit of coaching here and there, but for the most part, it really is just trying to get to week one healthy. And the Patriots are a great example of a team that even like start off the season, they use the first month almost like preseason, where they're just trying to get into the flow of everything because they want to keep everyone healthy. And so it does take a lot of time. And with this, I'm interested to see how amped up practices are. Because even Fangio talked about it where, hey, we've got to be on point. We've got to be hustling in between plays. We've got to be, putting in the work right now because it's going to be here quick. And so, but at the same time, like I said, you want to protect the players. So you need those practices that are going to be a little easier after the padded practices, but you still need those padded practices to get players used to hitting again. I mean, they haven't hit since January.
Yeah, and I think you're going to see the first few games now that there's no preseason. Sometimes you see a lag in a normal season with the first few games, and I think we're going to really see this start to carry over into the mid-season where you're going to see a lot of missed tackles. You're going to see a lot of missed blocks. You're going to see some sloppy football for a little bit, and that's okay because, thank heavens, football is back, and it's right around the corner, and I'm super pumped about that. So you're going to see a little bit of sloppiness. It's a weird environment that they're going through right now, but it's all about adjusting and overcoming. You just got to adapt to these new circumstances, and it seems like everything's going pretty well over there in Broncos land, as John Elway would like to say. We love to call it Broncos country, but good old John, always leaving those great drops for all time for us here in Broncos land.
All right, we got a couple super chats here. Terry Randall, hashtag Carl's not so majestic beard.
Oh, Terry, you were hating. Terry, I feel like Terry's got beef with you too, Carl. And you must have been chirping at Terry for something, just like you chirp at me and your dad, because he was ripping on the hat, which I encourage everybody to go get some swag.
Yes.
MileHighHuddle.com has all of our writing, and you can find some podcasts and stuff on Spotify. But where can you find some gear, Carl? Where can we get gear to these good folks?
I'm trying to remember here.
Is it the huddleupstore.com? Huddleuppod.com?
I think that's right.
Yeah, I think you guys can go ahead and go there and check it out at Mile High Huddle on Twitter. you guys can go ahead and get yourself some hats, Mile High Insiders. We've got some stuff that is just coming out. And Pabby, we've got some stuff coming to you and our Super Chat superstars. So we appreciate all you guys so much. It's thehuddleuppod.com. Go get your swag on. You've got Carl's show with Nick building the Broncos. You've got Eric Trickle and Lance Sanderson with the Dove Valley Deep Divers. And you've got the Huddle Up crew with Zach and Chad. Y'all know them, do a great job. Even though Zach's a little bit of a Cowboys fan, I still feel he tries to do a good job, and he does a great job writing and covering 2 different teams right now. Mad respect to Zach as well.
All right, we got Pabby coming in here. Thanks, Pabby. Oh, man, that's this means a lot. Thank you for thoughts and prayers. I thank you, Luke, for reaching out and checking. That means a lot. Glad to be back home. More excited for football season. Go Broncos. Woo! We're just we're so happy that you are safe, and hopefully things are getting back to normal for you a little bit, and hopefully you've got power. I know I just talked to Nick yesterday, I think it was, and he said that they finally got power back. So I'm hoping you do too. And because Nick said I think the thing he was most appreciative of power coming on was AC. Yeah, absolutely. I was just complaining to Chad about the heat of the summer, here in August, and, the dog days of training camp and what they used to be like. And they're certainly not that anymore. But yeah, Pabby, absolutely. I appreciate that. I'm glad to see that and hear that you're doing well. It's one of those things where Broncos country, we take care of our own. So I could see it on the comments right now on our live threads. Our fans interact with each other. Our followers interact with us. And it's such a cool thing, man, because football brings people together, and that's what this world needs. Exactly. All right. Well, Cody Potter coming in here with a great question. I like this one a lot with the super chat. Been hearing some chatter as the Chargers being second in the West. Who do they have playing quarterback?
Yeah.
We'll see. They do videos. Yeah, they do have a good defense. I will give them that. But who do you think lines up versus Chris Harris Jr. when it's time? Can't wait for the revenge game. Ooh. So, well, this would be interesting. I would say the better matchup for the Broncos would be Courtland Sutton against Chris Harris Jr. Just that size difference, because Chris Harris Jr. is 5'10". Then, of course, you got Courtland Sutton, a little bit bigger, one of those 50-50 balls.
Beast. He's like 6'4", right? He's 6'5", maybe. I mean, Courtland Sutton, you see these guys on the field, and it doesn't look like they're that much bigger than you or me. But when you see Courtland Sutton, he is just a beast. I mean, even when he stands next to Bradley Chubb and Von Miller.
Yeah, I remember when I got to ask John Elway some questions one time, and I was standing next to him, and I'm like just looking up and. I'm just like, hello, sir. Don't squish me.
Yeah. Courtland Sutton's a beast, man. Chris Harris Jr., good luck. Good luck, whoever you're going to cover. And if you're Courtland Sutton, know that Courtland Sutton knows Chris Harris Jr.'s moves. CHJ might think he knows Courtland Sutton's moves, but the referees are always going to side with the wide receiver and the offense. So look for a lot of pass interference or holding penalties on number 25 for your your football team, the Los Angeles Chargers.
They might finally be in their stadium. Maybe. They're still going to have 0 fans, but that's they're used to it.
Yeah, whatever's going on in the world or not, the Chargers fans do not show up ever. And I appreciate that super chat. Wherever y'all heard that, I'm really curious and get back to us because no, I don't see the Chargers being a threat. The Chargers are supposed to always be a threat. They never are. Until you invest in a quarterback, and I know they think Justin Herbert's the guy, but who's protecting him? That offensive line is bad. I mean, Garrett Bowles thinks that offensive line is bad. So I just don't see it on offense for the Chargers. I really don't. The defense, you're exactly right, man. That bothers me. You've got Ingram and Bosa and arguably one of the best safety duos as well with the Chargers. So, the Chargers are no joke, but until I see anything from the offense, it's going to be tough.
All right, Game Central coming in here with the super chat. Really appreciate it. First time, long time. That's what we love. That's what we love to hear. I appreciate that you two knowledgeable NFL analysts take the time out of your Saturday and away from your families to provide this content. If we don't support you, who will? Big props. Well, we really
Thank
appreciate
you.
you supporting us. Yeah, that's huge. We do this because we love it. I mean, even on a Saturday, it's a lot of fun. And I don't know. Our families have always been supportive of, at least I think your family's probably been supportive of you and all of your sports stuff. I know mine has. And so I really appreciate that. And it's nice to see that from our listeners as well.
Yeah, absolutely. My wife knows pretty much, I get the first couple weeks off of January. I stay away from football. And then, it's after the Super Bowl rather, and then it's start hitting the road trips and start to scout and start looking at some players. So it's a different lifestyle. It's a lifestyle that I love because I'm just a football junkie. And what did my Saturday look like? Watching practice film from yesterday and writing and then coming on this podcast. And it's not because I have to, it's because I get to. And I know it's the same for you, Carl. Carl, you write, you throw down 2 podcasts a week, man. So I know it's the same way, and you've got a wife and kids, and so do I. So it's one of those things where we really appreciate you guys. And it's just, I feel really blessed to be with a following and with a group like Mile High Huddle and Sports Illustrated. And, there are a lot of other groups out there that do a good job, but man, 24/7 coverage around the clock. Go get at us, guys, at Mile High Huddle, milehighhuddle.com. We've got a whole crew of writers. Some I haven't even met or got any FaceTime with that are constantly writing, constantly pumping out content. So I really appreciate the support and encourage everybody to check out the rest of our podcasts and all of our writing content at milehighhuddle.com.
Yeah. And nice thing is we've got a wide variety of writers that cover lots and lots of different areas. We all have our different specialties that we kind of like to stick to a little bit.
Yep.
And so you get a little bit of everything. Whatever you like, we've got it for you. And Terry Randall, hashtag not arguing with my wife.
Terry, I talked to you. Yeah, Terry, I talked to you last Tuesday, dude. I want to see some stand-up when everything starts getting together, man. You need to get in there because you're constantly killing it, man. No, arguing with the wife is something you cannot be doing right now, Carl. Don't do it. You better not chirp her. You can chirp all of us, but do not chirp the missus.
I don't dare chirp her. That's off limits right there. I do have to say, I just an interesting story because I know one of your good friends is Cecil Lamney.
Cecil. You're the second person I've heard call Cecil, so I've started calling him Cecil. Yeah,
Cecil,
so I start calling him Cecil. And like it just drives him nuts. But yeah, he's one of my boys. Actually, my neighbor, man. One of my best friends.
Yeah, I kind of met him once.
Okay,
I met him at the Senior Bowl.
Okay,
and he is. It's funny. He's like a celebrity down there.
Yes.
And he had like this giant crowd of people just following, listening to every word he had to say. And I was nervous. I didn't actually go up and talk to him. I was just I was like, that's Cecil. Can't talk to that guy. He's too big.
Oh man, it's really funny.
I regret that now.
It's really funny because I've heard that before from other folks, and don't tell him that. I'm not going to tell him you think he's a celebrity because it'll go to his head, and we don't need that. But no, in all honesty, man, Cecil's actually how I got my start. I competed in a radio contest with his station, and John Davis ultimately beat me out. Another good one of my friends, and no, Cecil's been a good mentor for me, man. He's done a lot for me, so maybe one day we could get Cecil on the show. He's one of the most knowledgeable people in the scouting community, and he's introducing me to the scouting community. And I actually went on the All-Star road trip with him last year, and it just fascinated me to see NFL scouts, agents, and coaches all going to Cecil because the guy knows football. I mean, I thought I was addicted to it, and I thought I had weird hours. That guy doesn't sleep. And go check him out, folks, at Cecil Lammy. He's a friend of the show. He's constantly plugging our work on, Mile High Huddle. So, and on 104.3 The Fan. So they're good friends of the show, man. But no, maybe one day we'll get Cecil on because that cat knows football, and talent can come from anywhere, man. It's one of those things we're so excited for the draft, and we got all these rookies because of that research. And a lot of those cats saw some of them at the Senior Bowl, some of them at the Shrine game. And we get the youth movement, baby. It's in full swing for the Denver Broncos.
All right. We got another question here from Harry Burgos. Another super chat. Really appreciate that, Harry.
Thanks,
Who do
Harry.
you think is more likely to step up and become a great contributor this season? Tim Patrick or DeSean Hamilton?
Tim Patrick all day. 10 out of 10 times. 10 out of 10 times. I'm not even going to let you get it out of your mouth before I say it. Tim Patrick. I really, really like Tim Patrick. I do. And Tim Patrick profiles a lot more like Cortland Sutton. God forbid Cortland Sutton went down with an injury, I would feel much more comfortable replacing Cortland Sutton with Tim Patrick just because they're similar in the body builds, the profiles, the 50-50 balls. By no means am I saying Tim Patrick's the second coming of Cortland Sutton, just because that's not it. But he provides, he's the true vet in that wide receiver room right now. And I like Tim Patrick a lot. I think he's focused. He had a really good game last year in Minnesota, had several games where he disappeared at times, but he's a willing blocker, which is something that's going to be huge for the run game, for the spread offense as well. So I like Tim Patrick. DeSean Hamilton, good luck, but your Padawan learner is going to take your job in KJ Hamler, or at least your spot.
Yeah. No, well, just talking about yesterday's practice, DeSean Hamilton had a very up and down day. He had a touchdown pass from Drew Lock, but then he also had about 2 or 3 drops.
Yep.
And, he closed out the season last year looking halfway strong, but so did Tim Patrick. And Tim Patrick's been the more consistent guy. Like you said, he has that outside ability where right now the Broncos have a lot of guys that are probably pretty good at the slot. I mean, Jerry Jeudy's good at the slot.
You're good in the slot. Yeah.
KJ Hamler can do that.
And he's not a fantastic gunner. He's not a fantastic tackler. I mean, it's just going to be so tough, Carl. You're exactly right. And one thing I'm trying to remember just real quick, Tim Patrick arguably, I could say, has won them a game. And I'm thinking 2 years ago with Case Keenum against the Seattle Seahawks, Tim Patrick was able to get a catch that got them in field goal position, and they were able to win the game. It was either the Seahawks or the Raiders. And then I'm thinking of last year, the very first game with DeSean Hamilton, where he ultimately lost the Broncos the game by dropping a touchdown pass. So, the coaches don't forget that thing, especially Vic Fangio. And although, it's a long time ago and in the rearview mirror, he's got to win as a head coach. And that certainly didn't help the record. So DeSean Hamilton, man, I want to see it work out. I don't think it will.
Yeah. And here's the thing is, again, when you have 23 days of practice, everything is kind of using one of your terms earlier, microwaved.
Yep.
So you have a bad practice, it's microwaved to look 10 times worse. You have a great practice, it's microwaved to look 10 times better. And DeSean Hamilton starting off day one looking not that great, that's not helping his cause to make this roster when they have so much talent coming in at the wide receiver position. I mean, we even have a 7th round wide receiver that we haven't even talked about one bit that could be in there for special teams and be that great counter with his speed. And of course you got last year, they took the kid from Colorado.
Yeah.
We haven't even seen
Winfrey. Juwan Winfrey. Yeah. He was running with the ones in training camp last year and then disappeared, and kind of one of those things where drops just started happening for him and just, he wasn't able to get over it. But I'd be remiss if I didn't and I know we're coming up on the 10-minute time crunch, but Michael Jamudia, we talked about him, got an interception, not sure about where he's going to line up. You could check out my piece about Bryce Callahan and what I'm looking at for the secondary, but I got to talk about Lloyd Cushenberry, man. You want to talk about a starter. This guy's going to be a starter as a rookie. And one thing that you didn't hear a lot of was Lloyd Cushenberry's name yesterday. That's not a bad thing, folks, okay? Because if you're hearing your starting center's name, who's a rookie, a lot on the very first practice, you're probably looking at a lot of FUBARs. And you're looking at oversnapped balls, offsides, false starts, holding penalties, all kinds of those mental errors. And sounds like he had a decent day. Doesn't sound like, he had an over the moon day or anything like that, but I'm okay with that. The offensive line kind of doing their own thing, and nobody has a real good grasp on what they're doing today, just because, man, I would have killed to be out there, Carl, because yes, I want to see Jeudy and Drew Lock too, but I want to see this offensive line. I mean, we broke the news with DeMar Dotson coming on and everything last week on building the Broncos. And, I'm just looking at this offensive line and there's so many question marks. How do you think Lloyd Cushenberry is going to do as a rookie starting center in this NFL, right next to Dalton Reisner and Graham Glasgow?
Well, I mean, you couldn't ask for a better situation. to be surrounded by those two guys to help him out, they're going to help make his job so much easier. And I mean, so that's why I don't feel too worried about the center position, just because of having those two veterans around them. But I do feel really good about Lloyd Cushenberry. Two things that I've heard about him from pretty much everyone: one of the hardest workers and smart as a whip.
Smart as a tack, man. So smart. His mom, I believe, has a PhD, and if I'm misquoting that, I apologize. But for everything I've heard, supports that as well. He's so smart, and he's a hard worker. And don't you think that's necessary in this Zoom virtual classroom setting where you're spending more hours in the class? I mean, Carl, they're spending more hours in the classroom than they are on the field. It's absolutely bizarre. That's got to help Cush.
Right. Yeah, it does. I did hear he had one bad snap, but I'm not sure. So understand, when you hear that there was a bad snap, it could have been the quarterback or the center. I'm not sure which one it went against, but one bad snap, it's going to happen, especially early on. He's still thinking through everything that he's trying to do. So that doesn't bother me one bit. If he's still doing it, 3 weeks down the road, like every single practice you're hearing that he had a bad snap, then yes, let's get a little bit worried about that. But right now, there's nothing to be too concerned about. I do think he'll be a day one starter. I mean, right now they have Austin Schlottman as the starting center.
No,
that's not going to happen. I know they have
quote John Elway. No.
Yeah, they have Patrick Morris as well. Lloyd Cushenberry is 10 times the athlete that either of those two guys are. So just hard for me to think about that they're going to win that job. But yeah, make sure everybody heading on over to Facebook. We've got, you can become an official supporter of MHH and keep this content coming daily. That's where we post like articles. We talk on there as well to different people. I've seen you talking, I've talked on there. I know Nick talks all the time. Eric, Lance, I've seen all those guys on there chirping away.
Did you see me chirp at Lance this week, dude, on Twitter? I got him good.
Did you?
Oh, yeah, because I understand how Lance and Eric are Garrett Bowles apologists. And so I talk mad junk to them constantly. And, Eric does a great job. Eric's as dedicated as the rest of us are, man, and is constantly putting good work. I think it's at Eric Trickle MHH, correct me if I'm wrong, but go check out his work. The guy puts out great work, and so does Lance Sanderson. But Lance just has this brand new baby boy, and everybody's healthy, happy, beautiful, right? And he puts out an awesome article. Well, right now he's going through and he's ranking the AFC West based off position groupings. And he got to the offensive line and he's saying, whoa, it's not as bad as you think. And I had to chirp him and say, did you get that baby boy a 72 jersey yet? He's like, no, not yet. I got to know if he's going to be on the team next year. But no, that's just it, Carl. I mean, we've got such a good group here at Mile High Huddle, man, and we're putting out so much content, and y'all are eating it up. Y'all are eating it up quicker than we can get it out. I had somebody ask me the other day, whether or not I was going to be able to put out an Albert Okwuegbunam article, and I had to get on the computer right away. You got to give the people what they want. And Carl, you're constantly telling us what you're wanting to write up. And Bob Morris, Chad Jensen, Zach, Eric Trickle, we can go on and on, man. But get at Mile High Huddle because we're absolutely crushing it. The best place for Broncos coverage and analysis. And one thing I've always respected about you, Carl, and everybody else, we don't look at things with the orange and blue glasses, man. It's truth. And sometimes the truth hurts. But you know what? The truth is the Broncos got a lot of good things going for them, man. A lot of good things. Practice is in full swing. Cats are healthy right now. Sunday, man. Sunday. What do you think we're going to hear tomorrow? If we got 4 minutes left in the show, man, what are you hoping to hear with, day 2, a 2-hour practice in the Mile High City at UC Health Training Center tomorrow?
Well, I'm hoping to hear something that really stuck out to me is a lot of people talked about how Drew Lock was actually pretty accurate. Even though he had the couple interceptions, those were more his eyes focused on somebody and the defense reading where he's looking to go.
KJ Hamler's fault on one of them, so I'm going to blame him immediately.
Right.
The other, when you look at it, Bryce Callahan knows the defense. He knows Vic's schemes, so he just gotten underneath route. So
right.
yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt.
No, you're good.
I gotta interrupt there because I'm not gonna let Drew Lock's name get tainted on the first day of practice ever.
Right. And the interceptions really don't bother me one bit. I honestly, I'd be worried if I wasn't hearing about some interceptions because he needs to be testing the defense, testing what he can get away with. Peyton Manning threw tons of interceptions in training camps because he was testing what he could do and what he couldn't do. James Campbell coming in here, at Eric Trickle, at Sanderson MHH, at John K MHH, who's Buana, at Bob Morris Sports, at Keith C _NFL. Follow all those guys. They are all worth a follow. They put out great stuff out there. And so I just want to hear that he continues with his accuracy because that's one of the big concerns coming out of college was that he wasn't always the most accurate guy. A lot of times throwing off his back foot, relying too much on his arm talent rather than being technically sound in what he's doing. And so I want to hear that. I want to hear that the defense actually, part of me does want to keep hearing the defense gets turnovers because that was one thing that was missing last year. That's always been a big part of a Vic Fangio defense.
Yep.
So them having a lot of turnovers made me think that this defense is really coming into its own.
And speaking of defense, you know what I want to hear about defense, and I don't want anybody to jump after me, but I want to hear that, maybe if the ones when ones finally go against each other, the ones and twos, I want to hear about that defensive line kind of ruining the offense for a couple series. I want to hear about Jarrell Casey, busting through, even if it's against Jake Rogers or Austin Schlottman or, I want to hear about that because I'm so excited about this defensive line. I know you guys are really pumped about Draymond Jones. You look at what Jarrell Casey brings to the party. We're all wondering what Bradley Chubb and Von Miller are going to do on the outside, but a lot of exciting stuff, man. And I'm really pumped because, there's just, when you look at it, man, I think it's realistic to go right down the list and say Jerry Jeudy, obvious starter for day one. Lloyd Cushenberry, obvious starter for day two. So you've got two starters right now, I feel like etched in stone. And then you've got a few in the bubble. Who are your bubble players that may or may not start games this season?
So Ojemudia, of course.
Yep. Corner out of Iowa.
The first two are locked in. That third cornerback, that's going to be such a huge battle here in camp. Sounds like Yadam got the first chance the first practice. He was kind of up and down. Bosby's going to get some opportunity. I like Bosby a lot. I think Harris got a few opportunities, but Ojemudia, he's the guy that's going to be the long-term solution. We'll see if he can be the short-term solution as well. So that's one that I think will get some starting reps out there. I think Justin Strnad could really play that nickel linebacker, which to me is still a starting position in the NFL right now, even though he won't be listed as a starter. The guy that can go out there and cover, I think he's going to get maybe, 400 or 500 snaps this year, which is about half the snaps on defense.
Yeah, and we talked about it. He's what Sua Craven should have been. So, if you could get him into the mix, KJ Hamler into the mix, I still think McTelvin Najim by the end of the year is going to be playing. He's going to be playing significant minutes. I don't know whether or not he's going to be a starter his rookie year, but I project him to be seeing some minutes too. So, man, we've got a lot of excitement coming. Sunday, you're going to have the Huddle Up podcast tomorrow night, taking you guys through Chad Jensen and Zach Kelberman, taking you guys through day two, really, of training camp. I'm saying day two because that's all that matters.
Yeah. All right. Well, before we get out of here, we got a couple more questions coming in that I want to get to. Cody Potter coming in here with the super chat. What are the pass rush attempts you see this offense going with? What are the pass to rush attempts? You see this offense going with? I see more of a passing team, like 35 attempts per game. # Broncos AFC West champs 2020.
Ooh, I love it, Cody. I love it. Cody, again, one of our super chat superstars. Cody, appreciate you so much, brother. Hope you're doing well. Man, that's tough. It's a passing league, Carl, and we know that. That's why Pat Shurmur's here. That's why he's here to help Drew Lock's development. That's why the Broncos go back-to-back wide receiver. That's why they get a running back in Melvin Gordon who can catch. What kind of ratio are you seeing? Because I don't know, man. I don't know how many runs we're going to see. Mike Liss was speculating Philip Lindsay's runs are going to be significantly cut in half. That tells me if Melvin Gordon's getting some carries, Philip Lindsay might be getting 4. How many Gordon would get? I don't know, maybe 9, 10.
Yeah. So here's the thing: is I'm going to divide the season up in halves.
Okay.
I'm going to do this. First half, I think you're probably going to see more 50-50 run pass split,
which you saw yesterday, from what I understand, in plays too.
Yeah. And I mean, and I'm talking about that for the overall offense, just because, I mean, you got these young guys at the wide receiver position being worked in, and you got Drew Lock in his second year. You got an offensive line that's trying to find some kind of chemistry together with a couple new pieces, especially on the right side there. And so I just see them leaning on the run game early on, especially when John Elway comes out and says that we're going to have to lean on the defense early in this season while the offense finds their chemistry.
Yep.
And that to me screams, let's go run the football. I mean, you got Melvin Gordon, you got Philip Lindsay. Lean on those guys. Those two are two superstars on this team that you can lean on and trust, and make teams have to respect that you're going to run the football. You could see a very low-scoring game that first week against the Titans, because you got two teams that I think are going to be really pounding the football, playing position football. And but I think as the season goes on, then you're going to see more of that 60-40 split, 60 pass, 40% run, as Drew Lock and the others come more and more. Carries-wise, I think you're going to see 60-40, Melvin Gordon getting 60, Philip Lindsay getting 40, unfortunately. I know that's going to disappoint some people.
Yep. It is what it is, man. You've got a $12 million back, and you've got a $600,000 back. One thing as we wrap it up, folks, when Vic Fangio talks about complementary football, it's not always, and he says it right after he says this, it's almost like to a T, you can bet money on it. When he talks complementary football, he always follows up by saying it's not just run to pass ratio. It's ebbs and flows of the game. It's situational football. It's one of the reasons you chart plays. It's one of the reasons we watch the game 2-3 different times to try to figure out tendencies. You've got to exploit the other team's tendencies. That's what Vic Fangio and Pat Shurmur have to do this season. So, to quote Gary Kubiak, man, we're fixing to find out, and I'm super pumped to hear about practice day 2 tomorrow, Carl.
Yes, me too. I eat this stuff up. I mean, we've all been wanting football back, and it's finally
back.
We'll take anything we can get. And so, yes, day 2 of training camp tomorrow. Make sure you're tuning in, because I know that the Huddle Up group, Chad and Luke, or not Zach, sorry.
I'll take you'll be on the spot anytime. Yeah, anytime they want me to pop on there, I'll take a spot. They're going to be on it. Yeah. You know it. They're going to be on it. And you guys are going to be on it, because you guys follow all of our pods. So we really, really appreciate it.
Exactly. So, all right. Any last thoughts?
Always believe in that Mile High Magic, baby. We got special things happening in Broncos country right now. Broncos country, we've got a good team that's starting to work together right now. Now, I'm not talking Super Bowl run. I'm not talking playoff run. Right now, can we just talk about going to work? We got guys, a bunch of guys and coaches and players and the nutritional staff, the custodian workers, everybody over there at UC Health Training Center is going to work to make football happen. So let's celebrate that. Don't get too high, too lows on the interceptions, the fumbles, the missed blocks, things like that right now. It's very early. You're going to see a lot of mistakes. And let's just take care of each other, Broncos country. Let's stay well, and appreciate y'all joining us here on a Saturday night.
Exactly. Thank you all. Make sure that you're following us on Twitter. You can find me at Carl Dumler, MHH, Luke at Luke Patterson, LP, Nick, who's not here, but make sure you're following him at Nick Kindle, MHH. And, of course, make sure you're following the podcast Twitter account at MHI _. I'm trying to remember. All of a sudden, I'm blanking.
It's at MHI _ football pod.
There it is. Sorry. Yep. And make sure you're heading over to Mile High Huddle, because, again, lots of articles. We got a Bryce Callahan fresh off the press release.
It's hot, yes. Carl. It's hot. And, hey, if y'all don't like it, let me know. Let me know where I'm wrong. Let me know if you don't think Bryce Callahan's going to make it. So we want to hear from you guys. Again, many, many thanks. Appreciate you, Carl. Appreciate you coming in. And we got more bearded glory coming for everybody here in the near future. Exactly. Yes, we were going to have a few more episodes. Nick's going to be moving. So you're going to get these beautiful mugs many, many more times here. So we love you all.
and appreciate you joining us here on another Saturday with MHI. And we're going to close out our time here, but make sure again that you're following all the different podcast accounts. Head on over to wherever you're listening to podcasts. Leave us a rating, leave us a comment, whatever you want to do. For Luke, I'm Carl, wrapping up another episode of Mile High Insiders. We hope you enjoyed it, and we will see you soon. Go Broncos.